friends, it's Deanna here, and today we're making the Be Mine Cardigan, which is a cute cardigan. It's got like the gathered bottom. It's got the option of a bolero, the regular like to hip option, and then all the way down. It's got the long sleeves or short sleeve, or you could do sleeveless. It's got this little ruffle on the sleeve if you want to do a ruffle on the sleeve. It's a really cute pattern, and we're gonna go ahead and sew it up. But before I get started, let me remind you of our fun fan giveaway of $50 Ellie and Matt gift certificate, and we do that every month. So the only thing you have to do to enter is make sure you subscribe to our channel and then comment below and talk to us. Give us some feedback, talk to us about our patterns, our videos, whatever you want to talk to us, any questions you have, and that's how you are entered for our giveaway. So yay, that's excited. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Again, I'm using the Be Mine cardigan, and I already cut out my pattern. All my fabric is cut out, and we're going to go for it. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I got my back and I got my front. So my back is cut on the fold, which means it's one big piece, but my front is got two side pieces to it, and we're going to attach them together at the shoulder seam right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our sleeve hole or arm side is right here, because if you put it on the wrong way, it doesn't match. Okay, so you have to make sure that it's matching, that your arm sides are matching together. So that's how you would know which front is the right side and which one is the left one. Okay, and we're going to pin. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and sew those shoulder seams together to make like a little vest. I am using my serger, but if you don't have a serger, that's okay. Gotta find my foot over here somewhere. It's like hiding underneath my mess. If you don't have a serger, that's okay. We can use a zigzag stitch or a stretch stitch on your sewing machine. And I just turned my sewing machine off. So either one would work fine. And what I would do is I would grab a piece of the fabric that you're using and just use your sewing machine and figure out which stretch stitch would work the best for the fabric that you're using. If you're using a zigzag stitch, sometimes what I'll do is I'll play with the length of the stitch, make it a little bit wider or whatever, to see what works best with what I'm working with. And yeah, so here is our shoulders are on. You can go ahead and steam that seam. I always steam the seam all going one way. That way your shirt doesn't look, your cardigan won't look all wiggly. Now we're gonna go ahead and attach our sleeves. So we are opening up that what is it called again? Arm side. I couldn't remember the word. I'm like, what is it? Okay, so I've got my sleeve, and I'm going to find the middle of the sleeve. So just fold it in half and go all the way to the top and mark it, and that's the top of your sleeve. And then you're gonna go to the back and to the front. Okay, we're gonna pin right there where the middle piece is, and then the part that's supposed to go to the back, well, this is the front. The part supposed to go to the front goes to the front, and then the other part goes to the back. Right sides together, matching at the raw edges. So you're gonna make sure that the raw edges are together and the right sides are matching. And you're gonna do this for both the front and the back, the two sleeves. And actually, I grabbed the wrong one. This is my one that faces to the front. you have on the pattern piece, it tells you which one goes on the front and which one goes on the back. And I thought I had them set right, but it's okay. All right, so I'm pinning, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew that raw edge to sew the sleeve right on. And I'm going to do that for both sides, the front and the left and the right side sleeve, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and sew that sleeve on, and then I'm gonna sew the other sleeve on, and we'll move on to our next step. Make sure when you're sewing it on, you move all the other fabric out of the way, and like the underneath fabric, so it doesn't get caught and jammed in there. And then also make sure that the two pieces are going through. Sometimes it tries to get out of the way, and so you got to make sure that both of them are in there. Alright, so now that their sleeve is on, we're going to fold it right sides together. We're going to meet at that armpit seam. We're going to go down the bodice, front bodice and back bodice together, right sides together, and then we're going to go down the sleeve to put those sleeves and that bodice, front and back bodice together. And we're going to do again, this is going to be done to the front and the back. I mean to the, not the front and the back, to both sleeves, to the both sides. To both sides. To the both sides. To the both of them. Okay, and we're going to sew that up all the way across. And again, I already did it to the other side, so we're good to go. Make sure everything is out of the way as you're sewing this on. I always say that because it's got me before. I don't make sure that everything's out of the way. All right, so I already did it on the other side. So we've got this little vest-like little thing. How cute. We're gonna put that a little bit to the side, and we're gonna work on our neck bands. So we've got one long neck band, another long neck band, and a small neck band. The small neck band is what's going to be on the back part. So we're going to grab our long neck bands, and we're going to pin them short sides, right sides together on the short side. So here's one short side of the small band. I'm going to pin one there. And then here's another side of the short band, and I'm going to pin the other one there so that I have one long band. And I'm going to sew those raw edges of the sides. Remember, make sure that the band doesn't come underneath and get stuck underneath, and then now you like sewing them all weird. Just sewing the raw edges. The other one. I always forget to tell you, I know you always ask what kind of fabric I'm using. I think this is like an ITY. It's a very thin, it's not quite double brush poly, it's just like very thin polyester type of fabric. I love the way that this drapes. It's not a great fabric for like something really tight, but it drapes really, really nicely. So I love it for dresses. I love it for, what do you call it? For stuff like this. So that's what this is. But really any kind of flowy knit material would be perfect for this cardigan. Now I'm folding it wrong sides together to give it like a crease down the middle from when we're going to attach it. Make sure your raw edges match. And while I'm doing this too, I'll tell you what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the poppy sweater, poppy sweater, I think. One of my favorites. I love it, love it, love it. And there is a video of me actually making the same exact shirt. Don't mind the wrinkles. I didn't iron this morning. You know, I steam everything, but when it comes to ironing my clothes, I'm not the best. Ooh, be careful. My iron got a little hot. And this ITY is thinner, like I said, so be careful when you're sewing it. That didn't just happen. That's been there. I burn things all the time. I gotta be more careful. No, I say I burn things all the time. I don't. I honestly don't burn things all the time. Sometimes. Not all the time. I do try to be very careful with my fabric. Okay, so after you steam it and it's down, you're gonna fold it wrong sides together. And you're going to sew the ends together, like so. Sew that end together, so that way when you attach it, that end will be already sewn together. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew that on my serger. You're gonna sew both sides, and then you're gonna turn it and pull the top out and steam it. And you're gonna do that for both sides so that it's finished. So when you attach it to your front part, it will just, you had already hemmed it, so it will just go straight on, okay? All right, so now that that's ready, I'm gonna set it to the side. And we're gonna work on putting our skirt together. So I've got one side, I've got another side, and I've got my back side, which is the longer side. And we're gonna do the same thing that we did with the band. We're gonna grab the big side, the short side of the big panel, which is the side, and I'm gonna grab also the side of the side panel, and I'm gonna match them up at the raw edge, right sides together. So we're putting that front and those two fronts and the back together at the raw edge. So for the big piece, it's gonna be the short side, but for the short piece, it's gonna be the long side because of how it's cut. So we're gonna attach both of those together. And I am I'm going to go ahead and put both of them on at the same time because I feel like I can get it done faster this way. That's what I like to do. Yes. And this poppy was done on like a French terry. This is French terry, and yeah. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and sew those sides together to attach the skirts together. And then when we're done with that, we can go ahead and hem the bottom of the skirt to 1/2 inch. So I'll show you when we come back, and then we'll be gathering and attaching it to the bodice. All right, so they are attached. So it's one long piece. So now before you gather, if you want to go ahead and hem, all you gotta do is fold up 1/2 inch at the bottom. If you have a directional fabric, make sure it's the bottom. 1/2 inch up and steam, and you go ahead and hem. You can hem with a zigzag stitch, double needle, cover stitch, whichever you want to use. I am going to hem in a little bit, but we're gonna move on to our attaching our bodice to our skirt to our bodice. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to gather my bodice, gather my skirt the width of the bodice. You see how this part right here is going to be gathered the size of from seam to seam of the bodice, okay? And then this part right here will be gathered just the right amount to the side of the bodice, and then the other side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a long basting stitch on my fabric. And that is how I'm going to gather. And you know, I've had people like tell me that you can hold the thread like this a little bit. Not like a lot. I'm not even holding it very much. I'm just kind of, and then it helps to gather a little bit. And I don't want to do it too much because I don't want to hurt my machine. So I'm not like holding it back that machine is struggling to do anything. It's just gathering the fabric just a little bit. Excuse me. Oh, that came out of nowhere. I didn't even see that coming. Sorry about that. All right, so now we're going to match up. It's not quite gathered enough, so I'm gonna pull on it and gather a little bit more. And the good thing about gathering with basting stitch is that if it's not a whole lot of gathering, which it's not really a whole lot of gathering with this garment, it's pretty easy to get it pretty even. Okay, so, and this is good because you've got lines. You've got like breakup lines, which are these seams. So you can even out all these gathers by the seams. Okay, so there is that seam. Here's this seam right here. So this has to be gathered just enough to fit this seam from seam to seam. You want to make sure you kind of spread it around. Whew. And then on this side as well. Let me move my iron so I don't burn myself. Done it before, don't want to do it again. So I'm just kind of pulling one of the threads, and there's other ways of gathering. It really is up to you, however your preferred method of gathering is. Alright, so that is the width of the bodice. Very good. So now instead of moving my skirt, since my skirt is already gathered, I just kind of pulled it down. So there's my skirt from one side to the other. Can you see it? I'm going to grab my top and I'm place it right on top. So I'm going to meet right here where, sorry, I want to cut this little piece off because I hate them sticking up. Sometimes they'll go inside the fabric and then you have like a piece hanging out. It's annoying. Okay, so I'm going to match those seams first. Here's my one seam and here's my other seam. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach the ruffles. We're doing them right sides together and I'm pinning that ruffle on. You can pin it from the top, you can pin it from the bottom. And then what I have done before, if you want to do, I probably will not on this one, but if you want to do it, you can baste it on first and make sure that they're even on. Ruffles are evenly on, and then sew it on if you want to do that. You can do that. But I think these are pretty even, so I think I'm just gonna go for it. Pinning them together, and then I'm gonna sew it on. So I did the back, now I'm gonna do the same for the front. I'm gonna go all the way out to the side and pin. And make sure I pin everything. I make sure I put a lot of pins when I'm doing gathers because you want them to stay, especially This fabric is really like kind of flimsy thin. This is like I said, a thin polyester. So it's kind of it slides a lot. So you want to make sure that your gathers don't slide on you, and then you'll have a bunch of gathers on one side and not enough on the other side or whatnot. So that's why you want to make sure you pin good enough so that their gathers are even. Alright, I'm going to finish this up. And I'm going to go in my serger and I'm going to sew them on together. Making sure that I don't catch any of the bottom. So we're going to sew them together, making sure I don't catch any of the bottom. I usually sew it face up, the ruffles facing up, so I can see them and make sure that they're going in evenly. And then we'll come back and attach the band and we'll be basically done. Alright friends, so that is done. We can go ahead and pull out that basting stitch. Pull out all the pins. Pull out that basting stitch. See how easily that comes out on some fabrics? This fabric, see how easily it slides, which means because this is like a very thin, slidey fabric. So that's why I have to be very careful when I was sewing them on. Now we're going to steam that seam allowance. Try to steam it all going the same way so it's not, so it kind of sticks out nicely. There it is. It's almost done. Now what we need to do is attach our band. If you want to go ahead and hem your sleeves now, again, that's 1/2 inch, just like it was with the bottom of the skirt. And then we're going to go ahead and attach those that band. So we're going to start with the back. So I'm going to find my back point, which I mean my 2 shoulder seams together, and I go to the back, and that's my backity back point. So I marked it. If you don't want to mark it, if you don't want to clip it, and by clipping it, I'm just really, I'm doing is I'm cutting just a tiny bit off that I can see where the back is. And I'm going to do the same thing for my neckband. Find the back. Alright, and then I'm going to pin it to the mark I just made together, right sides together, raw edges touching, and I'm going to pull that neckband over to the one seam to match up to the one seam, and I pull it to match up to the other seam. You're going to stretch it a little bit so that they can match, okay? And then I'm going to go down one side. So I'm going to lay out my whole side out. I'm going to grab my band and we're going all the way down. And you're going to have to stretch a little tiny bit to make it fit. Come on. All the way to the bottom. Okay, so I'll pin at the bottom. And then I will stretch a little bit so it will fit. So I'll pull like from the top and mark it and kind of go little by little, stretching it out. Okay. And then I'm going to pull again and I'm going to mark it like right over here. And as I'm sewing, I'm stretching it down a little bit so it fits. So it kind of fits. So it fits. You don't want it to kind of fit. You want it to fit. Kind of. Alright? And I'm going to do the same for the other side. Laying it out. It's very important that when you're done, when you're sewing this on, you want to make sure that you take everything out of the way. All the other pieces of fabric, because, if you don't, you can catch it and you did all this work and then last minute it falls right, it goes under and it gets cut under the knife or something, and that would be very sad. You'll lose all this work that you just did on this beautiful cardigan. Okay, so I'm pinning it all the way up and there, and I'm stretching it out and finding where I'm going to pin. Again, I'm going to stretch out. I stretch it out and I mark it with my finger. You can also fold the band and find like points, quarter points or whatever that you want to put it at, and that will help you. But this works great for me, so this is how I do it. I find it that it's easier. All right, so I'm gonna start at one end, and I'm gonna go all the way around, sewing that band, right sides together, right on top of each other, stretching slightly as I go. And I'm gonna finish that up, and then I'm gonna come back, and that will be it. We'll be all done. Well, we'll just have to hem and be all done. I'll have to hem and be all done. And if you hemmed your skirt, you'll have to go ahead and hem that part right there with a band. All right, here we go. All right, so now that that's done, we're gonna go ahead and steam. Make sure your iron is not too hot because it's been sitting there. And make sure you're steaming it all the same way. That way it doesn't give you a wonky look. It just gives you a straight look. And that is it. Remember, because you already folded the band and you hemmed it, then all you have to do is tuck in the ends at the bottom. And your cardigan is done. If you haven't hemmed your sleeves, go ahead and hem your sleeves. Ugh. All right, and that is it. My cardigan is like super wrinkled. I'm like trying to iron it because as I was ironing all the other sides, those got wrinkled. Look at this cardigan. Ready for anything. All right, I'm gonna take a picture. I'll post it at the beginning of the video. Please let me know if you have any questions on anything I did or anything that we have been sewing lately. Please come join us on our Facebook or Instagram page. We'd love to see what you're making, and we'd love to for you to get inspired to see what everybody else is making. And like, comment, share, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.